Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern Ned Reynolds in the studio on a Monday morning going into the Sunday night football game between the Houston Texans and Kansas City Chiefs. If the Chiefs won that game, they would have had a 66% chance of going into the playoffs. That didn't happen. Chiefs fall to the Texans 20-10 and now have a 16% chance of making it to the playoffs and are 10th in the AFC. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, you have to look at the positive side, and they do have a chance. It is on life support, but they do have a chance. There isn't any question about that. Mathematically, they can still get in, but it would take a minor miracle to do that. Secondly, do they really belong in a championship hunt? Kansas City didn't play very well last night at all, and you knew they were going to have problems because the Houston defense is the best in pro football, one of the best. Their offense is pretty stagnant. C.J. Stroud had just a questionable night, but Patrick Mahomes had an awful night. He was 14 of 33. He threw the ball 33 times, completed 14 passes, 160 yards. He was intercepted twice. I beg your pardon. Intercepted twice. He was sacked twice. They weren't in gear, and that is because, I think, principally because of the injuries they have on the offensive line. Then you have Wanya Morris going out on the first snap of the game, for heaven's sake. Mike, when you take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs, and this is not to say they weren't good enough to be in the 5 Super Bowls. Obviously, they were. That's why they were there. But they had really some lucky breaks, especially last year. Things really went right for them, and now the pendulum has swung a little bit the other way, and now things aren't going right for them. I don't think it's so much a matter of the team as it is the rhythm of football and the way it works. Now, I did see some speculation where, this is the end of the dynasty. I can't agree with that. Although when you take a look at Andy Reid's coaching record with the Philadelphia Eagles, when he took over a floundering team and made them into a championship ball club that went to Super Bowl competition. When he left, the year he was fired, they were 4-12, and they had begun to falter. And then he was immediately, 20 minutes later, picked up by the Chiefs. A brilliant move, because that type of football is going to win for you. But does it last forever? Nothing lasts forever. I just don't think Kansas City played well enough. They took 2 gambles in the fourth period that did not pay off, and hey, that's part of football. When it's not working, you're just going to suffer the consequences, and Kansas City has. 20-10 was the final score. Houston won it, and the Chiefs are now below 500. They are 6-7 on the year. Yes, they could still get in the playoffs mathematically. If they did, they'd finish with a 10-7 record. But they're not going to win. They're mathematically out of winning the AFC West for the first time in, 9 years? I think it is. Gracious sakes alive. Now, what are your thoughts? You look at it differently from this. I'm a reporter. You're a fan. What do you look at it?
10 years, first thing. Second thing, it's going to be no different than what I've said for the last 14 weeks, my friend. It's undisciplined football. While, Patrick Mahomes was hurried last night, a lot of those incompletions were drops. I mean, you had some serious first down contending plays that were dropped. Easy stuff. So it's discipline. That's a coach's thing. I've said it all year. I was heartbroken that Wanya went out, but you know what? Issa Pohl came in and handled business. I thought he did a great job. The fact that he has been with the team for the limited amount that he did and came in and did this says, I don't really know, why was he not an option to begin with? I mean, the Texans are the best defense in the league, hands down, and they did a pretty good job of keeping him in check. Yeah, again, there were some miscues, but it's undisciplined football, and you can see it. But more than that, and it's something that I've said for the last month or so, and that is when a team wins a national championship, that's exhausting. When you win 3, that's even more exhausting. When you've gone to 5 in the last 6 years, they need a break. And if this is what this is, it is what it is.
Absolutely cannot disagree with that at all. You do run the rhythm where your mentality may not be as acute as it once was, and I don't think it is with the Chiefs. Now, you've heard them interviewed, and Mahomes, when he's interviewed, is very structured. He knows what he's going to say, and it's always very hurried, and he gets out of there. And I think that's the same with the other players, too. Although I'll tell you, when you had Jones in there interviewed last night before the game, he was, I think, legitimate in what he had to say. Hey, we'll go out there and I'll dominate. And he did dominate. He had a pretty doggone good ball game for a guy who's been around for a few years. But again, you wonder about their mentality. And this is not in the forefront. It's in the deep psychology. What do I have to do? And you don't think about that. It isn't something that immediately comes to mind. It's you in your psyche. And I'm wondering, I agree with you. I think the Chiefs may have a situation in which, hey, we've been there before, we'll turn it on when we have to, and they can't turn it on when they have to. It's a different game altogether, and you have to learn from what has happened. I think they're a good team. They do need some retooling. They need some new people in there to make the whole machine work. But, hey, that's for the draft, and that's for the trades, and that's for the free agents and so forth and so on to take care of in the offseason.
And, again, like coaching, and you know how I think it's interesting to me that the enemy gets such a rap about, oh, he's such a hard player, players just he's so rigid and all this and blah blah blah. I'd do anything to have that kind of mentality back in the locker room right now, Ned. High scoring shootout Saturday night in St. Joseph, Missouri. But man, that kid on the other team, that performance is unbelievable.
Now, you can say that, and so can we, because we're the media, but the casual fan, and folks, please don't misunderstand, I'm not being derogatory in any way, but the casual fan cannot understand what that kid, and his name is Preston Hatfield of Lee Summit, what he did. He ran for 457 yards. And that's just a number to some people. Folks, that's incredible. On a football field, running for 457 yards, running for 300 yards is unbelievable. And this kid was able to do that. He was unstoppable, and that's what got Lee Summit the victory, 41-37 over a really, really good Nixa team, a great Nixa team, which I'm still not convinced is not the better of the two teams. Coach John Perry at Nixa, very gracious in his comments. He says, hey, make no mistake about it, losing stinks. And he's a winner. He does not like to lose at all, but he said it came down to 4 or 5 plays, and Lee Summit hit every single one of those 4 or 5 plays that made the difference. 457 yards, 4 touchdowns for a kid named Preston Hatfield. They're new Missouri records, folks. That's a record-setting performance. Nixa had their chances. Adam McKnight, who goes into his senior year next year, had 4 touchdown passes. He's a very, very good quarterback, very good baseball player as well as football. Nixa will be back. Coach Perry does a terrific job with the team. It's just a shame that they did have to lose it, but they're winners and losers, and you accept the losing graciously, and I think Nixa did. They're a championship ball club.
And I don't think that's the last time we're going to see them at that point, so great season, boys, and I think we're all used to saying there's always next year around here, especially this year. Quite a bit of controversy in the final football bowl rankings. You think they got this one right or wrong, Ned?
No, wrong. I think they got it awfully wrong. However, keep in mind, Ned Reynolds does not have a dog in the hunt. I don't really care. My ball club never even got consideration for this thing. But the fact of the matter remains, Notre Dame, I felt certain would get a berth. And yet, no, they didn't. The committee did not put credibility in the whole season for Notre Dame, which was 10 straight wins. Notre Dame lost a couple of games, and they lost the first one to Miami, and it was a good competitive ball game, but Miami won it. The second game was Texas A&M, which is a national power, and Notre Dame lost that game by 1 point, 41-40. Won the rest of them, and all season long ranked 9th, 8th, 10th, somewhere around there. They'd bounce around, although they didn't lose any games. And yet they do not get in. And Miami does get in. Now, there were all sorts of excuses and strength of schedule and so forth and so on. But my problem with the 12 teams, and you knew this was going to happen. You knew it would happen with 4, it happened with 8, and it would, well, it never was 8 as such, but the 12 teams that it goes into, and it will happen when they expand to 16. There are teams in there who don't belong. James Madison and Tulane, the rule of the committee was that the lesser conferences had to have a representative. A representative is fine, but 2 of them, it takes the place of teams that are legitimate. And now I know it's the rule, but giving the lesser teams a chance, while it's a great thought, is really not realistic. And you penalize teams like Notre Dame and Brigham Young and teams like this that did not get in. And the Irish don't get in, and they turned down their bowl game. They said they were not going to any bowl games. Now they're getting some bad pub for that, called cowards and poor losers and all that. I don't blame them one tiny little bit. Why should they expose their players to games that don't mean a damn thing? And those bowl games don't. And you have seen this since the championship formula was established. Those bowl games are meaningless. They're exhibitions. So why expose your players to them? Well, if the team votes no, hey, you don't go.
And I completely agree in everything you just said. Back to the rankings, I get where they're coming from is wanting to make it accessible to some of the lesser known schools, but you have to take in strength of schedule. And that is the thing that is the biggest. Again, for both of those teams, they're not fighting the Giants week in, week out. Not to say the other teams didn't the whole time, but when you look at the strength of schedule of those top 12s, it's blatantly obvious. You know what I mean? But it is what it is, and that's the deal.
I'm going to give you an example here. The first round playoff for Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is one of the top 12 teams. Their first round playoff game is Tulane. It's the second time this year they played them.
Yeah.
They played them the first time in Oxford, Mississippi. They're going to play them again in Oxford, Mississippi. First time they played, Ole Miss ran them out of the ballpark. Ole Miss will run them out of the ballpark this time, too.
It'll be interesting to see, but also on top of that, I think you're right in regards to them not wanting to play the bowl game. Do not think it's them and their feelings. It's, I'm not going to risk these 5-star players to get injured in a game that, if we're not going for the championship, then we're done. We'll see you next year. So I get it. Take it off, get better, and we'll see you next year. Football wasn't the only thing that was played this weekend. You actually did play some basketball, right?
We had hoops, and both the Bears and Lady Bears played. The Lady Bears played yesterday at the Great Southern Bank Arena, played KU, and the Kansas team's pretty good. Both teams came into the game with a 7-2 record, 7 wins, 2 losses. In overtime, Kansas won it 73-70. Over the Lady Bears of Missouri State. And Kansas, to get that overtime, had to rally from 7 points down in the fourth period. Women's basketball is in quarters and not just halves the way the men play it. In the fourth period, and Kansas rallied to tie the game, send it in overtime, and won it there. So 73-70, no mark on the Lady Bears. Both teams are pretty doggone good. Here's the one that absolutely fascinates the daylights out of me, Mike. And that was the Missouri State Bears of Conzo Martin playing Tulsa, down in Tulsa. Now, the Bears played as well as I have seen them play this year. They hit 13 3-point successful tray shots. 13 of them shot almost 50% from the field. They had a great shooting day. And they lose 98-74? Oh, my. The Tulsa team, folks, is really good. They hit 14 trays in their game, including 9 in the first half. Pretty much put the game out of reach in the first half. It's a really good shooting Tulsa ball club. One of their wins is a 1-pointer over Oral Roberts, and the Bears play Oral Roberts a little bit later on this month. But the fact is that Missouri State played well, and yet they get blasted by Tulsa. Next up for the Bears will be Xavier, and that is coming up on Friday. Now, the Drury team split 2 games in Quincy, with the Lady Panthers winning and the Panthers losing. And Kansas and Missouri played yesterday up at the T-Mobile Arena in Kansas City, and the Jayhawks win this one by 20. Kansas 80, Missouri 60.
I know it's frustrating for the Missouri State Bears that they weren't able to capitalize on a performance like that. But the good news is that I do feel like they're getting better.
Oh, they're getting better. They're a good team. They have some very good players on this team, and nobody really knows when they get into this Conference USA, what they're going to expect, because nobody's played them anymore. So we'll find out when that happens, and that will be happening here in the next couple of weeks, especially around the turn of the year when this conference schedule gets very demanding, and that's when the Bears will go all the way from, get this, Mike, all the way from Las Cruces, New Mexico, to Newark, Delaware.
Ooh.
That's how far this conference. Come on. What is this?
Like an international flight. Ned, you have a good Monday. I'll see you tomorrow.